A lot of people just don't bother with New Year's resolutions anymore because they tend to flop. By March, maybe even sooner than that, you've already forgotten everything that you planned on doing. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing how what I feel like has helped me the most to form new habits and to create lasting behavior change. Lower the threshold of your goal until it's actually achievable. Do not lower your standards or lower your expectations for yourself. What you want to do is set realistic goals. Most people overestimate what they can actually accomplish in a year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 3 to 5 years. So you may not be able to become a millionaire and you may not be able to be a bodybuilder, but what you can start doing is start creating the small habits of someone who is living that reality. On anything that you want to accomplish in the long term, you have to start condensing those big goals into short-term goals. And the way that you do this is by thinking on a moment-to-moment basis. So what is the thought process? What are the habits, the beliefs, the values of the person that I want to become in maybe 3 to 5 years, as opposed to putting all the pressure and weight on yourself to become that person in 1 year. The most important thing is that your goal is realistic. Lower the threshold of your goal till it's actually achievable. So in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, he gives a story of a woman who, in order to actually achieve her goal, which was to go dancing every day, she basically just put her shoes on. So instead of telling yourself, every day I'm going to go to the gym, or every day I'm going to get up and run, make the goal smaller. On those days where you do not feel like doing anything, you don't feel like getting out of the bed, you're just not in the mood. How are you going to do it, right? How are you going to not fall off of the wagon? Because what really discourages people from their goals and from their New Year's resolutions is when they fall off, they don't have a plan for how they're going to get back on. Oh, I'm going to do all this shit. I'm going to just do it. How are you going to do it? You know, because you're going to have failures along the journey. You need to have a strategy for how you're going to get back up. Part of it is faith, but the other part of it is having a strategy. I literally had a mental breakdown at the end of the year all of a sudden, and I realized like all the things that I had just been driving through all year just hit me all at once. I stopped exercising. I was pretty much laying around. My cramps were so bad. They were like the worst they've been in a while. What I realized is this is a chain reaction. I'm going to feel like shit, and then me not exercising is going to make me feel even more like shit. It's going to affect my mental health. It's going to impact my emotional health, and it's just going to spiral. So in order to get a hold on that, what I had to do was just say, look, I'm going to go on YouTube and find a 15-minute workout. I can't commit to working out, to doing my hour-long workout regimen. I can't commit to getting up at 6 a.m. to go for a run in 20-degree weather. But what can I do? I can go on YouTube and find a workout that someone else has come up with and just follow along with what they're doing. After I do it, it's a win-win. A, I feel better because I actually exercised. B, I actually did something as opposed to doing nothing. And what matters most is that you are consistent. The regimented discipline of oh, I'm going to just do this thing. You're not always in that state of mind. Yeah, you have those moments and you feel like a god in those moments, but there's going to be moments where you feel like shit. You have to plan ahead. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do it all. This is a hard lesson I learned a couple days ago. When you have this mindset that you're going to do it all and you're in your masculine energy and you're like, yeah, I can do anything, you then start to feel guilty when you don't, because you're like, damn, like I'm falling back into my old habits. I'm falling back to my old ways. I'm doing that stuff I said I wasn't going to do anymore. I'm like falling off. I'm falling off. We beat ourselves up so much when we don't do what we said we're going to do because we contradict ourselves. A lot of people get distracted from their goals because they don't want to go through that pain again. So they just give up and say, look, if I don't say I'm going to do it, then I just won't hurt myself by not following through on what I wanted to do. Your 3 to 5 year long-term goal could be to shoot for the moon, but don't shoot yourself in the foot by setting up a goal that's unrealistic and unachievable, because what matters most is that you take tiny bits of action every day toward your goal, as opposed to biting off way more than you can chew and then just feeling like shit because you couldn't actually do it. When push comes to shove, you need to have an action plan for when you fall off. So put your running shoes on, put your hair in a bun, or, you know, just get prepared. Don't tell yourself, I'm going to get up every morning at 6 a.m. and go for a run, rain or shine. Don't set that up. Start by saying, I'm going to run once a week, Saturday or Sunday. If you say to yourself, I'm going to sell my house this year and I'm going to move away, downsize the goal itself. I'm not going to clean the whole room. I'm going to open this one box of shit that I put in here and I'm going to go through that one box. I want to be a content creator. You take all this action, you buy all this fancy equipment, editing software. Halfway through the year, you're not even interested in doing it because it's too much work. You put too much pressure on yourself to do it in a certain way. And so now it's harder for you to make content. For me, I was such a people pleaser and a perfectionist when I started. I have to have B-roll. I have to have like fancy graphics on the screen. I have to have all my clips edited perfectly, and I have to make sure I say things in the most concise way, and I have to edit everything for viewer retention. What you really need to do is post. Like, we're making these goals so fucking convoluted when all you need to do is post. So break that big goal down to smaller goals. You're bullying yourself at stage 1. Make the goal easier. Like say, look, I'm just going to film myself talking about a topic I'm passionate about anytime I get angry or anytime I get mad. When you think about it, the goal is actually easy. The goal is not the problem. The goal is actually easy to achieve. It's all of the other bullshit that you're doing that's actually getting in the way of you doing the bare thing. Steve Lacy once did a teen TED Talk and he said the bare maximum, and that shit always stuck with me because he thought he needed a big fancy Mac to be a musician, but he recorded his first hit song on his phone. So you don't actually need what you think you need. What's the next obvious thing in your journey? Just start. Wherever you think you should start, just start with that. If the goal starts to become convoluted, remove all of the extra gunk. The next step is always the easiest and most obvious one. Anything that you're trying to accomplish in this year and any other years to follow, take it one thing at a time.